How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Behind the Catch Fence. I'm your host, David Hoffman. Well, May is officially here, which means the sounds of Indy cars racing around Indianapolis Motor Speedway are so close. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out our last video on drivers' first times at the Indy 500. Lots of good insight from that. Now, without further delay, today's show features the one and only Mario Andretti. Now, this isn't the first time the legendary driver has been on the show. Now, as crazy as it is for me to say, this is the third time Mario has joined us. Just insane. I mean, come on. And this time, we're talking all about his 1969 Indy 500 win and the incredible story of that car, or this little car. That car is now on display at the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., so you'll want to go check that out sometime. But he and I talk about that as well, along with the evolution of the Speedway. So let's get right into it. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack, maybe some fish and chips for something different, and enjoy this episode with Mario Andretti. Are you ready to go for it?
Let's go.
All right. So, it's finally the month of May. I mean, going into it, what makes heading back out to Indianapolis and just the Speedway so exciting for you all these years later?
Well, obviously, it's a special event in every way that you could describe it. It's the only race that I know at the top level on the planet where you spend so much time to prepare for. So there's the anxiety is there from the standpoint of how important it is. I mean, it's quite honestly, each driver would evaluate the situation by themselves, but this is one race that's worth a championship. And I know because I was Rookie of the Year, and then I was at the Johnny Carson show, and I was actually a national champion in my rookie year, the same year, and they introduced me at the Indianapolis Rookie of the Year. That's because I finished third behind Jim Clark. So that drove home how important this race is. I was so proud about the national championship. Obviously, to me, that's the ultimate. But nevertheless, we all know how important this is in every way. Sponsors and it stays with you forever. As you could see, that's the car. That's a Smithsonian, basically, showing a period where technology, aerospace and automobile technology, where all of a sudden turbocharged engines were winning races, were turbocharged, obviously, very effective form of powering a piston engine and all that. And so anyway, Indianapolis, yes, we always look forward to it. Yes. By any means.
And you mentioned, we'll talk about the 1969 winner here soon, but you mentioned the Smithsonian. I mean, that was, I believe it was 2 years ago or something like that, where that was unveiled. The original car has its own display at the Air and Space Museum. I know when I was on Twitter, I saw you said you'd gotten choked up about seeing that car, the display, and just everything behind it. I guess, and from your perspective, what made you feel choked up about it, and just why was it so special for you to see that car sitting there?
Well, because you just mentioned the Smithsonian. I mean, it's this is the original car, as you said, that was donated by SDP Andy Granatelli when I won, and had been on display at the Smithsonian for 27 years before they sort of took it down to the basement still. But then now with the new aerospace museum, they found a spot for it alongside, again, all the new technology such as aerospace and going to the moon in 1969, so many breakthroughs. And it seemed like it fit that mold. And I was so proud that they brought it out and have such a beautiful, prominent display. I'm proud because motorsport is actually, presented in such fashion in a museum such as, again, the Smithsonian in Washington.
And it's cool because, kind of funny story. My wife and I actually went there on our 1 year anniversary, which is funny to say on your 1 year anniversary. Let's go see Mario Andretti's car.
Hey, Mom, I'm sure she was really happy.
She was excited about it. She was taking all the pictures. It was cool. But yeah, it was
Uh,
just cool. Yeah, it was awesome.
okay, all right, you know how to make a wife happy then, David.
Yeah. And she's all into anything IndyCar. So think we're going places.
Good.
But yeah, just while we're there, it's so interesting because obviously that has so many different cars, different just you mentioned just the history of this technology and everything, but it's cool because we have people of all ages, and that was the car that the entire time we're there, that was the car that everyone wanted to stand next to, that it almost took people's breath away. They're just kind of staring there like, wow, this is yeah, that's cool. Like for you, like how is like do you get asked about that often just with the car itself, or what's that been like for you to have that re-entered out for the public to see?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's amazing that how, people, hey, Mario, I was there in 1969. I said, do you know what I've done since and all that? Seems like that's the only event that I've ever really had, success in. It has that much flavor to it. And again, I felt so proud of, to have this exhibit because it's going to be there for a foreseeable future. So, you can see how much this place has leg. I mean, winning Indy has got legs, and that's one thing for sure. So, I recommend to everyone going in there this year again, man, don't leave anything on the table.
Amen to that. Yeah, obviously, with that car itself, wanted to talk a little bit about the race and just how everything kind of went down. And the thing is, with that car wasn't supposed to run at Indy initially. The Lotus it was wrecked in, I think it was qualifying, and they had to bring out the Bronner Hawk. Just, I mean, how difficult was that for you to get accustomed to two totally different race cars and only have like, a couple days to figure everything out?
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess when it's your day, it's your day. But leading into that, you know that this was only the 69. It was only the second 500 that I finished. My rookie 500 was 65, 66, 67, 68. 66, 67, I was on pole, and I think I probably could have won the easiest races of my career there with the car that I had. And 68, the third lap out. And then 69, I had so much going for us because with the Lotus four-wheel drive, it was basically, just like the turbine chassis, but with the Ford engine and all that. And I figured, man, we got something going here. And all of a sudden, things were just falling apart because the team had two incidents because of the suspension failure and so forth. And then here it is, 2 days before qualifying. And that was the actual last qualifying weekend because the first weekend was rained out. So it was do or die then. And, I'm setting records in practice. And here a right rear hub just sheared. And I just destroyed the car and almost destroyed myself with it. But and then if you go, oh my God, how is is this thing going to turn around for me? And then we kept our chin up, and they were, what about us? So we have another car, and they, it was enter, but but the car came away a winner at Hanford, California, a couple of weeks earlier. So again, was not prepared for anything, but that's all we had. And so we went out and practiced, and Lord and behold, I put that thing on the middle of the front row, So from there, obviously, here's what happened. With that car, we had some cooling problems. So on a shorter track, we could add an oil cooler, especially on the side, which was actually, a lot of, aerodynamic it was aerodynamically not the best thing you could have out there.
It wasn't the best, yeah.
Yeah, qualifying, we obviously took it off. In the race, we tried to put it back on, and we, during the Thursday practice, they said, no, you can't have that on. You didn't qualify with it. So, and then, oh my goodness, now what do we do? Because our cooling system just was not up to snuff, and so you know what they did? They put a radiator behind the seat the car, and with air pick up from underneath and exhausting at the top, and oh, I mean, can you imagine the heat and over the during the race or whatever, and it wasn't very efficient either. So and again, I took the lead, and then I'm looking at the temps. Oh my goodness, I said, this thing is not going to go. So I sort of eased up a little bit, and AJ Foyt and McCluskey went by me. Then I could keep up with them, and kept going. I never really dropped back anymore, maybe third or so if you look at the record. And I figure, well, we keep going, and Lord behold, again, here we go. We go to the end. We led, I think, 118 of 200 laps, and so it was our day. But the satisfaction here was not only myself, of course, for myself winning, but I know how hard Andy Granatelli had been trying over the years. Just thinking outside the box, always with the Novis and then the turbines and all that, and being so close. I mean, with the turbo with Parnelli Jones and all that, and then here we go. We win with a car that was very standard per se by the day, and so again, just it was one of those blessed days, as you can see. But I felt again so much satisfaction to bring that to him, and STP, of course. But it was very, very happy day.
And you endured some other challenges with that race as well. I mean, you had to run all 500 miles on a right rear tire, which now,
my goodness, yeah.
Nowadays, how is that? I mean, obviously, that's impossible, but for you, obviously, you had to try and make sure that the temperature was keeping that down, but also the tire as well. Just with, I guess, both of those. I mean, how do you kind of set a pace when these guys are going to be running and ahead, and just kind of managing that? Because I'm sure that's a lot inside the race car.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But thanks to the experience that I had tire testing for Firestone, that I did many times. I did a lot of long runs, race runs with full tanks with the race tires, and there was a lot of margin built into these tires, and I knew that per se, and I didn't. Here's the way I was looking at it. I mean, here I'm leading. I'm up front, and if I wait for them to to try to get that tire off, I kept going. I figured, there's only going to be 3 stops at most, unless there's a yellow, because we were carrying 75 gallons of fuel, so that's the thing to remember. And so the tires today are built basically to go 30 laps, because you're going to stop. You're always going to change tires. In our days, you're probably going to make two changes at best, maybe 3, so I figure, well, I'm going to keep going and keep an eye on it. And again, as soon as I had pretty control of the lead, then I was then really paying attention to it. And then, we were ready to go all the way, and I kissed that tire, by the way. I gave it a French kiss.
It deserved that.
And my tongue was stuck to the tire because it was so hot. The tire is in the museum. The tire is in the museum, in the Firestone Museum, by the way.
Oh, it is? Okay.
And it has a letter that I wrote to the CEO, to Mr. Firestone, Raymond Firestone, to thank him about the quality of his Firestone tires that brought us that win. And it was certainly not expected that tire to go 500 miles and win the race.
Just unbelievable. I'm sure. I mean, that's going to be there for a long time. It's safe to say you're probably going to be running Firestones forever. No, shout out to them for still running an IndyCar. But you mentioned a little bit ago about Andy Granatelli and just his trials before getting that win, and just for you, is how would you describe his leadership and what was your dynamic like with him, and to be able to to win it together?
Well, everything, because for me, Indy, obviously, I give everything I got, but once the race is over, you know what I mean, I'll go to the next one. For me, the season is really the most important, and no question. And for him, he didn't care about the rest of the season, even though we won a national championship that year. But he didn't care so much. For him, it was only Indy, because when he really competed without, driving like myself, because he always had a one-off driver. He was only interested in Indy. That's why I said the satisfaction of completing that for him was just immense. But he tried to give me everything I needed, to go on and polish up the season, and in fact, I had one of the most satisfying seasons in '69 when I look at the record. I won races on the super speedway, short oval, road courses, and I even won Pikes Peak. And and then I won races on the dirt also. So we completed that cycle. When I look at the record in the book that we have, I'm pretty proud. We had a banner season. You know that in 67 and 68, I had to go to the last race. I was leading the championship. Of course, I didn't have the points that you gain at Indianapolis. There was 2 mile. I mean, those days you got 2 points per mile. So Indianapolis, you got an automatic 1,000 points if you won. And then all those races, I was going for the championship right to the last race at Riverside, and something always happened. To the track, blew an engine, ran out of fuel, and I finished the championship with a close margin. But to tell you this, in '69, I had the 1,000 points from Indianapolis. I had the championship sewed up in August, and my last race was in December 1. So, and I didn't have to win. I didn't have to win Riverside, and I won Riverside.
You said, why not add another one?
So like I said, I didn't figure, but it was that kind of a season for me. Yeah. Indy, of course, for sure had to be the jewel of all of it, but extremely satisfying, as you can imagine. I keep using that word, but I don't know how else to describe it.
And that's the thing. We don't really, when you talk about your, 1969, that's the only thing that people talk about is the Indy 500. But obviously, you just mentioned all the other, dirt, oval, short oval, everything. I mean, how much fun was that to be able to go in and do all these different, certain type of tracks and still just knock them down every single week?
There's nothing more satisfying than that. I mean, that's really what you work for. You work hard for, and that's and obviously that's what you're looking for. That's the ultimate thing that you could possibly receive, satisfaction wise. That's what makes all the efforts worthwhile. But again. Just to be able, like you said, to be able to do, and I did, some sports prototypes and everything else too, so to do all that and come away with a championship and winning the biggest race, you couldn't want anything more. You almost say, if I die tomorrow, I'm okay.
You won a couple more times after.
to die, but
Right.
it's one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously you've run at Indy since 1965 all the way up until today. You're still doing the two-seater. I'm curious between then and now, I, there's a specific feel with the racetrack that maybe never goes away. But for you, how has the track stayed the same after all of these years, but also maybe changed a little bit for whatever reason?
Well, the track has changed somewhat, but the banking, everything else, the configuration is exactly the same. But I'll give you an example that uh, my last competitive race there was in 1994. And then in 2003, Michael, Michael had a bit of a dilemma when Tony Kanaan hurt himself in Japan. He had a cracked rib, not rib, help wrist, yeah. And so there was a question whether he could qualify in Indy, and that's before official practice started and everything. So Michael, to sort of cover himself with sponsors and everything else, he was looking for a driver, and he said, "I don't know what the thing." We were in the kitchen with my daughter Barbie and myself, and Barbie said, "Why don't you have Dad qualify?" And Michael, like that, and Dad has been out of the race car at Indy for 9 years, so, and he looks at me. I said, "I'll do it." I said, providing I have a proper test date before we start official. And there was an open test, and of course, things were really going well. In fact, I was by myself. I was the quickest without a tow, and so toward the end of the day, I figured I want to put a big number up there, and I had the perfect tow with behind Kenny Brack, and he blows the engine going into turn one and scatters everything, and he crashed, of course. And I arrived. I had no warning because during the test they don't have the communication they do during the race, and I see all this stuff, and what happened is that was the first activity on the track since they installed the safe walls. So one of the wedges that's between the two layers of the wall popped out when he crashed, and it was laying in the middle of the track. If you, even on YouTube, they still have that film, and you can see that there's a white piece that's foam and on the middle of the track. And when I came over, I just hit it. I was on a telemetry show, 222 miles an hour coming off the corner because I had a really good lap going. And so when I hit the wedge, it just dislodged the car, from the downforces. And the car just started flying and did like 3 loops up there, about 15, 20 feet up in the air. And I landed on wheels. That's another one, that's the men upstairs are looking after me. So, yeah, it all worked out. And but honestly, I was ready I felt good. Is saying that going back to Indianapolis, I felt familiar immediately because we had some on my first run, we had some safe, quite a bit of wing and everything else. The third lap, I was flat. The third lap, I did a 221 flat, and so after that, we started trimming, doing all the stuff. But by myself, I ran closer to 25, and I just want to put somewhere around 230 in there, and I think I would have. But I felt really, really, as you say, going back. See, I would say, I don't know how many thousands of miles that I ran there because I was part of the test programs during the tire development from the 60s, which basically started when I was a rookie in the top series, in Indy cars in 65 and 64, 65. I mean, there was incredible competition between Firestone and Goodyear, which was good for all of us. In that sense, there was incredible, development that was going on from year to year, and performance and everything. There for a couple of years, we were running in the 66, 67, basically the same chassis, with some configuration changes, but and it was only the tire performance that was increasing the speed. Amazing, so it was interesting times, but I was there for every single test, that they had. So between on the off season between Indy and Phoenix, we were putting on thousands of miles, and so Indy I could probably do with my eyes closed a little bit, and at least like that.
So just to make sure you're not
Yeah.
close to anything.
maybe keep one eye open.
Yeah. Oh, final question for me. Just you've experienced Indy just both on and off the racetrack. Obviously, you've logged thousands of miles. Just, what is your favorite part of the month of May? Whether it's on track, off track, the traditions that obviously they're filled with traditions, but what's your favorite part of everything here coming up?
Well, for me as a driver, when I lowered myself in the cockpit before the start of the race, it's amazing. There's so much going on, but your concentration is such that you want to say, you can't wait until you're really lowering yourself in the cockpit to do what you came there to do. Now, today, of course, I just enjoy watching Michael's drivers and so forth do their thing and be part of, the sort of development of their setups, how one driver versus the other, prefers certain, balance to the car and all that. So I'm still interested in, obviously, in all of that. And I gravitate, to one or two drivers. Usually the guy that's quickest, that's where you're going to see me next to.
You kind of want to be the quickest.
I'll be with Marco, of course. And that's family. So I'll be with him, and he's all gun ho. He felt really good at open test they had a couple of weeks ago. He felt quite good. To hear that was actually very refreshing to me, and that's where I will be with him, just cheering him on.
Oh, it's going to be exciting. Obviously we got a lot going on here in the month of May. Hopefully Marco does well. Just to see the Andretti name back in victory land would be fantastic. But yeah, Mario, always a pleasure talking with you. Enjoy the month of May. Have some fun, and I appreciate taking the time.
Thanks for having me, David.
Yep. Thanks for watching episode 61 with Mario Andretti. I mean, man, where do I begin? Mario may be the most fascinating dude in all of motorsports. And it's just interviews like this that just makes me kind of have to take a step back and have to pinch myself a little bit. I mean, now looking back on the show for a minute, it's still crazy to me that Mario's right rear tire in the 1969 Indy 500 lasted all 500 miles. I mean, that's just one of those rare circumstances that we'll never see again anywhere. We'll have to go check it out at the Firestone sometime. That's for some pretty darn cool piece of history right there. Well, don't go too far. We have plenty more coming your way over the next few weeks. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If nothing else, just like and subscribe because it's Mario Andretti. If he were the one telling you to do this right now, I bet you would. Anyway, make sure to stay tuned next week for another former Indy 500 winner. To give you a hint, he'll be gunning for his second this year. Any guesses? You can comment below. Also, be sure to follow us for more content on Instagram and X at Behind Catch. Thanks again for watching. Go enjoy some racing this weekend, and I'll catch you guys later.